Empire.
Hello and welcome to my podcast. Today, I'm joined by former Washington tight end Jordan Reed, talking about his retirement, his career, and cannabis. That is in his future. That helped him in the past and it represents his future. And I want to thank Bram Weinstein for setting all this up. You can follow my work on ESPN.com. I'll have a story up Thursday looking at the day two and beyond quarterbacks that Washington could consider. The history of quarterbacks drafted after the first round isn't good. Put simply, it's a very tough position to fill, whether it's first or beyond, but it really gets hard after the first. One note, I'll be on The Beat, which airs on the Washington football team's website on Thursday with Brian Mitchell and Fred Smoot and host Chip Rier. Talking a lot of off-season stuff. And I did give one answer that I kind of wish I had said differently, so I'll tell you here. We were asked about the most impactful off-season signing. And in my mind, I'm thinking best player they signed. So I said William Jackson III. I think he is the best player they signed. But after we started talking, I realized it was really more about impactful. And I would probably have to say at this point, Curtis Samuel, simply because he adds an element they did not have on offense. And Jackson is good. He's an upgrade. But Ronald Darby had a pretty good year. So while it's an upgrade, is it going to be a transformational one? But Samuel provides speed and a versatile playmaker. QB always makes the impact, so Ryan Fitzpatrick, but you don't know what you're going to get with him. And I do think that he'll be better off because of Samuel's versatility, which should open things up for guys like Terry McLaurin and others as well. So now you know. And before I share my conversation with Jordan Reed, here are a couple of things that I wanted to get to as we get close to the draft. It will be interesting to see what they do at linebacker. I know there's been a lot of talk about Landon Collins' future, and Ron Rivera was asked last week if Collins knocking down the linebacker move was based on something that had been communicated to him or if he was acting of his own volition. Rivera's reply, that wasn't coming from the team. So in other words, no, that was just from Collins. And that's why this is something to still watch. Again, I told you earlier this offseason that Washington views his skill set at fitting three positions: strong safety, big nickel, and outside linebacker. I spoke to Matt Bowen about this transition a few months ago on the podcast. By the way, I also talked to Bowen about a lot of draft stuff earlier in the week. That came out Sunday. So if you haven't listened to that one, it's all about the draft and quarterbacks, linebackers. Go back and listen to it. But the one with about Matt Collins was from a few months ago. And I asked Bowen about how easy or tough that transition would be. He thought it would be an easy one. And again, you can go back to listen to it. But in a nutshell, felt it was much easier to go from the back to the front than vice versa. What Collins would do at the position is similar to what he's already doing, an in-the-box guy and the coverage skills and all that. It's very similar to being in whether the big nickel. Think of Deion Buchanan with the Cardinals. My wonder was whether or not his Achilles was recovered enough to give them the necessary info as to whether or not he could play at the right speed. My understanding is they feel he's looking pretty good. So I don't think that this would even be in consideration if they had some doubts on that. And my thought, and I've kind of been off a little bit on this stuff, was that why would you move him to a new spot coming off the Achilles? But again, if they feel it's okay, that it's progressing well, then that's why you do it. The final clue as to their intentions with Collins will come on draft night. If they draft a linebacker, I think it will be somebody who has the versatility to also play the mic. So when you're looking at linebackers, you've got to look under that prism, I do believe. They do like how John Bostic finished the season, but as they build this defense, they know they're going to want their version of a Luke Kuechly in the middle. I mean, who doesn't? It's hard to find that guy, but the athleticism that he possessed is, I think, what they're looking for too. We keep looking for ways, everybody keeps looking for ways to get both Cam Curl and Landon Collins on the field, and this would be the way. You can't rule out a move to this position, but again, he'll be asked to do similar things to what he would be doing now. There's not much more to add to the news of Alex Smith retiring, but I'll just say this. I truly enjoyed covering his comeback this season. It has to be one of the more enjoyable stories I've chronicled over the years, easily. I remember his first season here, the home opener against the Colts. It was dreadful. Colts played a soft cover 2. Smith and the offense could do nothing. And I remember looking at the fans in the stadium and thinking, these people have to watch this boring offense for 3 more years. But what you learned with Smith were why his teams often won, and you could start to feel the impact. He knew how to operate at the position. As Nick Sundberg discussed in the podcast earlier this year, Smith could make a lot of plays that weren't flashy and really didn't, not going to look back and remember them, but they were meaningful to the other players. Maybe it was gaining 13 yards on a 3rd and 16 to set up a better punt. That stuff matters. Maybe he was throwing a ball away rather than forcing it. Those things kept his teams in games. And a lot of the NFL is about what you don't do to lose the game versus what you're doing to win. I talked to Jay Gruden the other day about him, and he said as long as Smith was walking out of the tunnel, they felt they always had a chance to win. Players loved having him in their huddle. He wasn't the greatest quarterback, but his teams did win, and he was a key reason for that. He was an outstanding leader. Smith understood all aspects of the position. He was beloved by teammates before his injury. What the injury did was allow him to reveal himself to a much larger audience. Anyway, that's it from me, and I'll be back after this break with former Washington tight end Jordan Reed. We discuss his career, what he thinks now of the hit by Keanu Neal that ended his 2019 season and impacted him into 2020 as well. Plus, cannabis.
Support for this podcast comes from today's military. You have a calling. We have an answer.
Finding your purpose can mean following a different path, and that can be intimidating, but also rewarding. Consider the unexpected by looking at today's military. You have a calling. We have an answer. Learn more at todaysmilitary.com.
I'm Byron Kerr, host of Curly W. I've spent 15 years covering baseball and the Washington Nationals. My Curly W podcast will give you the opportunity to visit with Nats players, current and former, as well as coaches and coordinators at the major and minor league levels. We will jump into the 21 campaign and look back at how the Nats got here and what prospects are close to making it to the show. Subscribe to Curly W wherever you get your podcasts. Another great show from Empire Media.
Welcome back. Now here's my conversation with Jordan Reed. I want to start with the big news of the day that you are going to retire. Can you just, what's the thinking behind that decision?
Yeah, man, it's definitely been thought out process. I was pretty sure I was going to keep playing after the season last year. I was feeling good about where I was at, but then I had some lingering effects, and I went and sought out some professional help and just to get diagnosed and see where I was at, and have a professional opinion about what I was dealing with. And they pretty much told me that it's not a good idea for me to keep playing, and I agree with them, and so that's what I went into making the choice to retire.
And then the lingering effects from what?
From concussions.
Okay, I figured that. Okay, had they not told you that before? Because it's not like you had a lot throughout. And I want to get to the other stuff, the cannabis and all that in a few minutes, because I think that's interesting. But as far as the concussions go, you'd had a bunch throughout your career. Had nobody ever told you that before? And what was different this time?
I was before, when I had a concussion, I had the concussion, and then I'll feel better afterwards, and I wouldn't have any lingering effects from a particular concussion. In this case, I was having some lingering symptoms after the season that I noticed, and then I went and sought out some professional help with that, and then that's when I was diagnosed and things like that. But if I didn't have any symptoms that remained, then I would have kept playing. But I'm physically unable to continue to play based off my injuries and how they're affecting me currently.
What were some of the lingering symptoms that you had?
I'd rather not disclose that, honestly. But it's concussion symptoms.
Yeah, I know. I had a son who had a concussion, and it could be sometimes, as they can accumulate. Sometimes it's just one that does it. And he had one that in high school where he was basically prevented from playing sports for 6 months. So those can be, we saw what he had to go through and all that. It's not an easy thing. Are you okay with this decision? Because, I mean, you seem like you still love to play. I mean, is it an easy one for you to accept, or is it hard?
Yeah, it's definitely tough, man. It's definitely tough. I had, I had goals for my career that I wanted to achieve, and, the amount of time that I wanted to play. And it got cut short due to injury, but at the same time, I'm okay with it because I know the reason why I'm making the choices for my family, for my children, so I can be there and be healthy for them. And I'm ready. It's time for me. It's just time.
And then just for some detailed purposes, when did you actually go to the specialist, and when did they tell you that, and when did you actually come to the decision to retire?
I went out there around March.
And where was it? Where was it at?
In Orlando.
Okay. Thanks.
Plasticity Centers in Orlando. And I did some treatment out there for a couple of days, and then ended up getting a scan on my brain. And, based off the results they seen on the scan, they gave me their opinion, and,
okay.
I took it very seriously based off what I was already dealing with.
So when did you actually make the decision that's like, okay, I know I need to do it?
I was struggling with it for a couple weeks. Mm-hmm. And, I always feel like I could bounce back, and, I bounced back several times throughout my career. So, I just really sat down with my family, and we all talked about it. And it's just the best decision for me moving forward.
So how do you look back? I always enjoyed watching you just because you could kill guys in practices watching you. And it was so much fun to watch. How do you look back on your career now?
I'm definitely grateful for my career, man. I'm proud of what I was able to do when I played. And it's something I always cherish. I love the game of football. I was truly passionate about it. And, something I'll never forget. All the adversity I had to deal with and come through, and, I was able to bounce back numerous times, and it showed me a lot about myself, and it taught me a lot about life, and just, how to keep grinding and persevering through adversity.
And you certainly had to overcome a lot of that. And I remember even I think it was the Dallas game where you separated your shoulder, and you're having somebody help pull the pads off you after the game. Do you remember that game? And just is that something you look back on and say, I showed what I could do here, but man, that was a brutal one.
Yeah, man, I definitely always remember that game because of just the fact that I showed faith in God and faith in myself. And I went out there and I kept playing, and I was able to have success. And that showed me that, when you're faced with obstacles and adversity, if you have faith in yourself, then you always got a chance to pull through and make something positive out of it.
What do you remember? How hard was it to play through that, though?
It was hard to make the choice to go back out on the field. Once my shoulder was fully separated, and I got the x-ray, and I seen my bones sticking out of my shoulder, it was kind of a challenge to get myself to go back out there, knowing that, I got this going on. But once I made the choice and I started catching the ball from Kurt at halftime, right before we started playing again, I knew I could go out there, and once I went, I stopped thinking about it, and good stuff started happening, man. I had faith that it could, and it did.
Then the other one, and I'm going to go back to 2019 training camp, and I remember even talking at the time and talking to you and talking to others at how good you look. You look like the pre-toe injury Jordan Reed with the way you were killing guys in practice. And I was like, and I think we're all thinking you're going to have a big year, and then you get that injury. What do you remember about that feeling going in training camp and then that injury, the concussion?
Yeah, I mean, I was really, really excited going into training camp to be able to overcome the toe injuries with the sesamoid injury that, you know, a lot of people would say that, you know, guys do not come back from that injury just from one foot. And I had both of my feet removed. So, you know, it was definitely, I was grateful to be feeling that good. And all the work I put in really paid off. So I was really excited, and I was really happy at the time. I was enjoying, you know, life. I was enjoying football. And then I went out there and I took that hit, and it was a major concussion. And you know, it's just how it happened. I couldn't control it. It just happened that way. Yeah. And you know, it is what it is. It was something I had to deal with in my life to make me who I am today.
Was that one, like, did you still have lingering effects from that one even into this off season?
I would say, yeah. Okay. After that hit, you know, catching the ball never really felt the same after that. You know, it was difficult. It became more difficult to track the ball and stuff like that. And that's one thing that I really I noticed that stayed after that shot.
Did you ever talk to Keanu about that play? Did you ever have a chance?
No, I never talked to him about it. But at the same time, I know it's football, man, and stuff happens. He plays at a high speed, and that's just how the game is played. I don't blame anybody for anything like that, and I don't think anybody tried to purposely injure me.
And again, I'm going to get to the cannabis in a few minutes because I think that's really interesting. But I also love talking to you about just your career and all that, because I really truly enjoyed watching how you played. And we talked about, I remember early in your career, about the basketball moves that you brought to the field. And Washington signed a guy, Samus Reyes, who was a former basketball player. How much did basketball help you on the field, and how much can it help him?
Man, basketball was the reason for my success. I give basketball 100% credit to being able to transfer over from quarterback at the University of Florida in only 2 years, getting drafted to the NFL as a tight end. So I definitely owe a lot to my time playing basketball, growing up, playing with my boys in the streets and stuff, and just being able to use those same movements. I developed on the basketball court and brought it to the field, and it translated, and it was highly effective for my career. So yeah, I owe a lot to basketball, and I say to Reyes to keep on playing ball in the off season. Obviously, football is the profession now. So, you know, when you get some time to play in the off season, to keep that skill set going, because it directly correlates to playing tight end.
I know you talked about this with Bram on his radio show the other day. So how does it correlate? What are some of the little things? Because I remember talking about your crossover moves, but when you were talking to Bram, you kind of brought up some other areas that you felt like it helped on the field as well at that position.
Just the footwork of it, you know. You know, there's a move I do on a basketball court called the in and out, and it's kind of like a 4-step sequence. And I would apply that same exact 4-step sequence to a choice route that I was running, and it would have the same exact effect that it would have getting by a guy on the basketball court, making him think I was going another way, and then I cross his face, and I would do the same exact pattern of steps and head movement and body movement, and it would do the same exact thing to the DB trying to guard me. I would cross him over, and then, you know, just attacking the ball at the high point, getting rebounds, having soft hands, you know, hand-eye coordination, dribbling ball. That's why I was able to catch so well and was a natural pass catcher. It was because of how I was able to dribble a basketball. So it teaches, you know, basketball directly correlates to playing tight end.
When you were healthy, did you feel anybody could stop you?
Nah, I didn't. I never really met a DB that could stop me and could guard me when I was at the top of my game. I felt if a guy was close to me on certain routes and stuff, I felt like I would be disappointed in that. If I didn't beat a guy by a few steps, then I didn't really like it. So I held myself to a very high standard, and I believed that, you know, I shouldn't be guarded and I should never drop a ball. And that's just how I try to, perform.
This episode is brought to you by Samsung. Moms help everyone be their most epic selves. So for Mother's Day, help mom be her most epic with Samsung Galaxy gifts. Like their most advanced smartphone camera, so mom can take photos like a pro. A smartwatch with next-level fitness tracking. Samsung's best earbuds yet to help mom block out and turn up. Or the statement-making Galaxy Z Flip 5G that lets mom flex her style. This year, celebrate what makes mom epic with Samsung Galaxy.
Hey everyone, I want to tell you about a fun new offer from Monkey Knife Fight that can enhance any sports experience, whether you're at a game, on your couch, or in a bar. It's a daily fantasy sports league that is easy to play. You can sign up on monkeyknifefight.com using promo code JKR and play games such as More or Less. Will an NBA player score more or less than a listed point total? You can do the same in baseball. Will a pitcher have more or less strikeouts than a given amount, etc.? It's fun, and every Friday it's Home Run Derby. Bet on 3 guys who hit home runs that night. All 3 hit one, you share in the prize pool. Every week you can participate in their Eagle Eye Jackpot based on the PGA Tour. Choose from any sport, from NASCAR to UFC and League of Legends. And of course, once football rolls back around, there will be even more fun prop bets. This is daily sports betting designed for the average fan to use their knowledge and have some fun. Sign up now at monkeyknifefight.com and use promo code JKR. That's promo code JKR. Let's turn to the cannabis now, because that seems to be part of your future. So what are you doing with the cannabis industry moving forward?
Moving forward, I'm in the process of starting and finding the right partners to really, team up with, who have the same kind of mindset as I have, as far as, the applicability of the plant, its medicinal values, and just how lucrative the industry is. And, I'm just finding those right partnerships and trying to develop something great.
What made you get interested in going this direction?
For one, how lucrative the industry is and how well it's been doing since it's been legalized. Mm-hmm. I think, we're barely scratching the surface on how profitable and prosperous the industry is going to be. And then also, having dealt with numerous injuries in my career and concussions, I look to the plant and I see a great potential. You hear about all the preventative and medicinal application that it has. And it makes me very excited and hopeful for the future and dealing with some of this, traumatic injuries and things like that. So, yeah, I think I'm very excited about it.
Have you talked to there's some former players who are already in it. Calvin Johnson, I think, has done some stuff too. Have you talked to other guys about this?
No, I haven't. I haven't really talked to any other athletes about it. No, at this point.
And then for you, how has this been a part of if you've had those concussions? And, I know, again, you told Bram and I saw some studies that talk about cannabis and then concussions and how it, if it can help and all that. How much have you turned to that for your own health?
I definitely turned to cannabis, for a number of injuries that I dealt with in my career. Having surgeries, having foot surgeries, having separated shoulders, they prescribe you opioids to deal with the pain. And for me, growing up, I seen, a number of my friends get addicted to opioids and things like that. So I always knew the dangers that opioids had, and I never really wanted to use it. So I chose to lean on cannabis for a lot of that pain and stuff like that. And it was always very effective. And it never had, I never became addicted to it. It didn't have any negative effects on me in other ways. It was always a positive thing for me. And then I started researching it and looking into some of these top researchers in the field, and some of their studies are showing that cannabis can be a preventative for neurodegenerative diseases that can come from traumatic brain injury. So when I hear about that and I read that, it just gives me it just makes me even more excited and more passionate about learning and being in the cannabis industry.
When did you first start? Because you've had to deal with a lot of things throughout your career and going back to Florida. So when did you start using that as something to help you with your health?
Once it became legalized and I was able to, see and learn and hear about the medicinal benefits of it, that's when I would start using it. I heard that it's good with pain and things like that. So, I tried it out with some of my injuries and I found that it was very effective.
And then, and I'm sure and listen, man, being in the locker rooms for many years, when I talked to guys about opioids versus the marijuana debate, and I would say 80% would say they would have preferred marijuana. How much would you guys talk about this in the locker room?
Yeah, I think it was, a topic for sure. You hear all these horror stories about opioids, and you actually, I seen it with my own two eyes, the effects that it can have even if you had an injury and you only wanted to use it for a week or 2 weeks, it's something that could be very dangerous because, even in that 2-week period, you can become, addicted to it. And then once that happens, it's obviously a lot of risks that come from it. But not just in the locker room, I don't think people are preferring cannabis over opioids. 67%, cannabis has become widely adopted. I think, they said it's grown, the use of it has grown 67% just in 2020. So a lot of people are seeing the benefits of cannabis right now.
And then what as far as you want to invest in all that, but what is it that you'd ultimately like to do? Would you like to have a dispensary? What would be your role with all this?
Well, I currently own assets. I own the full vertical grow processor dispensary. And I just plan on continuing to grow in the cannabis industry. I want to be a part of, the industry in several different ways. Recreationally, I think it brings people together, and it's it's a fun, something people are enjoying and something that people can enjoy and will enjoy. And then I see the medicinal and preventative application as well. And I want to be a part of, researching the plant, researching and developing, ways of using it the proper way and the best way that will give a person the best benefit. So I want to be involved in pretty much every aspect of the industry.
And you were somebody too that I remember writing about this before, about your work ethic as a player. And I always felt like it was not given enough credit for that, or maybe not talked about as much. I don't know, but how do you transfer what you were doing there to what you want to do here? Like, what are some of the things you're doing to, as a worker, even just in this area, like that is maybe more than what you normally do or something like that? What type of research are you doing, et cetera?
Yeah. I appreciate you noticing that about my work ethic, man. And I definitely transferred over to business now. I'm a student of business, and I'm a student of the cannabis plant. I think, I spend a lot of time researching the medical benefits of cannabis, how to use it correctly. And, I spend a lot of time just learning about business. Right now, I'm working to find the right partnership and the right team to take it to the next level. I know I can't do it alone. And just like being a part of a team, throughout my career, I know that, it's going to depend on having a great team of people who are experts in the field and who could teach me along the way. Hey,
going back to the career too, I guess it's kind of tied into the health too, but how concerned are you for, we always read these, we see these studies, you hear these stories about players with the long-term impacts of the concussion. What's your level of concern for yourself in that area?
It's definitely something that comes into my mind, especially, that's the reason why I'm retiring right now at this point, is because, the potential long-term effects from traumatic brain injuries. So yeah, it's definitely something that I try to be proactive about preventing for myself and, just try to stay on top of.
When did you, because I remember talking to you about this years ago too, and like, were people asking you to retire, or would they pretty much leave this up to you? Were there people around you who said a couple of years ago would even say, Jordan, it's time to stop? Or did that ever happen, or were those discussions held?
Yeah, definitely. Especially after 2019, got people telling me, my family asking me and recommended I retire and things like that, and certain doctors. But, I always believed in myself, and, I just wanted to give it another chance last year and, see if it was meant for me to continue to play or not. And I wasn't really sure about it. And so I went back out there and I tried again, and I would probably kept playing, man. I love the game.
Mm-hmm.
I love to play. So, but when I get diagnosed and doctors are telling me I got to take it seriously, because I see and you hear all the stories about effects of traumatic injuries to the brain. So I had to take it serious, and it's the right decision for me and my family, for sure.
Hey, just a couple more questions. I appreciate your time and I love talking to you. So, but just what did you like about playing in Washington, and what do you think held you guys back a little bit? Because you guys are always kind of on that precipice and couldn't get over that point.
I love playing in Washington, man. I loved it with all my heart, man. And it's something I always cherish. Being a Redskin. When they drafted me, I was ecstatic, and I was loyal to the end, and I still am I'll always be a Washington, football team, whatever you want to call it. I'll always be a part of it. So I think one thing that held us back, it's just, I don't know, man. We dealt with a lot of injuries throughout the time. Every time we seemed like we had a good team, or we had some potential in the preseason, we were stricken with injuries. Key players were getting hurt in the worst kind of timing. And I just think that's part of the game. I just know it's a part of the game, and it's hard to have success. You gotta have everybody healthy. You gotta have a magical year. And so, I think that was one of the key factors, my time there in Washington, for sure.
And Kyle Pitts, Florida guy too. What do you think?
I think he's going to be one of the next great tight ends in the NFL. His skill set is not just going to be successful in the college leagues. It directly will be success in the NFL. He's fast, he's fluid, he's mobile, and he has great hand-eye coordination. Usually when you see a guy run so fast, sometimes they're stiff and they can't run routes. But Kyle, he can burn, and he also can run great routes. So, I definitely see him being a superstar.
And then last question, Jordan, but Alex Smith retires this week. You're going out, you go out a day later, yours comes out. What do you remember about him as a teammate? I know it wasn't even that long of a period, but what do you recall about him?
And he was a great dude. He was a great leader. You felt confident when he was in the huddle, calling the plays. He always gave 110%. I seen him take some nasty hits. Even just, my 1 year playing with him, he'd come back to the huddle like nothing happened and be ready to call the next play. And that just made you want to do your best for him. So I'm definitely proud of him, and grateful to have played with him. He had a great career, and he was a true inspiration for all kind of people in all different walks of life who deal with adversity. So, he's a person that'll always be remembered in the NFL.
And then, like I said, anything else you want to add about the cannabis industry? I mean, the funny thing is, like, I wonder how the NFL would have received it, but you are getting out of the game now, so you're free to do whatever you want. But anything else you want to add about that?
Yeah, I just plan on, being more outspoken about the cannabis plant and how it can benefit us all. I really want to be a part of, like I said, research and development, and really understanding all the best ways to use the cannabis plant. At this point, I think it's negligent of us as a society to not really take full advantage of the plant, because there are studies that say, it helps with Lou Gehrig's disease, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease. So, that's something that, affects a large number of people. And I think I really want to be a part of the solution and bringing cannabis and bringing all the best potential that cannabis has to the forefront.
Awesome. Jordan, it was great catching up with you. Really good to hear from you, and good luck with everything in the future.
Thanks a lot, John. I really appreciate the time, man. It's good seeing you.
Good seeing you, man. Take care.
This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. Small businesses have always shown an incredible ability to adapt, innovate, and survive, even more so this past year. Now, another way you can adapt and grow is by finding the right people to help grow your business. LinkedIn Jobs helps you do that for free. Get started by posting your job for free to reach LinkedIn's vast and diverse network of 740 million professionals. Fill out targeted screening questions to get your role in front of the most qualified candidates with the experience, skills, and motivation you need for your business. Then, with simple filtering and management tools, you can easily review, rate, and hone in on your top candidate. LinkedIn Jobs can help you hire the right person for your role, fast. And your first job post is free. Just visit linkedin.com/goodfit. That's linkedin.com/goodfit to get your first job post for free. linkedin.com/goodfit. Terms and conditions apply.
What's up? It's Mike Jones from the Football Jones podcast. I know you're enjoying your time with the John Keim Report, but once you're done, I want to invite you to come over and check out my podcast. Each week, we take a deep dive into some of the most pressing topics around the NFL. High-profile guests from the coach, player, and front office ranks, as well as the top league insiders. Check out the Football Jones podcast, another fine product brought to you by Empire Media.
That's it for this episode. Thanks to Jordan for joining me, and thank you, as always, for listening. I'll be back with a bonus episode on Friday, a short one. Fred Smoot talking about his draft experience, and Tyler Roman, former NFL scout, with a look at some possible late-round gems for Washington. Tyler is the host of the Roman Around the League podcast. Give it a listen. Talk to you next time.